3, 2, 1. Scissors.
Rock.
Paper.
Oh, no.
For the first time.
Take a picture. Take a picture,
because, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Panoramic Perspective Podcast, your weekly trip for anime shit. Let's get straight to it. This week's episode, we're talking about Fire Force, and I say we just dive straight into the world.
Yeah, I agree with that. Human combustion plagues the world ever since it spontaneously happened one day. That's what they say. They're just like, oh, it just happened one day, and ever since then, it happens all the time now.
Yeah, and people are just like, yeah, no, that's life. That makes sense.
Yeah, like, nope. Come on. There's no way.
There's no way. Not one person back then was like, that's strange. There's got to be a reason for that.
Not like one scientist who's like, this seems like an anomaly.
It seems like something we should look into. And, it's very interesting because the evangelist's main goal is they want to turn the Earth into another star, pretty much.
Yeah.
Another sun. And I find that very interesting because they serve under the evangelist, who is the devil. Obviously, he's surrounded by fire.
I'm glad you agree with that. When they were like, who's the evangelist? When I first saw him, when we first get to see him, I literally was like, oh, so he's the devil.
he seems to be like this world's version of devil. And the only reason I say that is because he literally gives Sho and Shinra and the other Adola Burst like powers that no pyrokinetic should be able to do with fire. For example, Sho can stop time. Shinra can
go really fast.
Well, yeah. How does
so he goes so fast that he exceeds the speed of light, and his body rips to shreds because it no longer is under the influence of light. And then when he reappears, his body puts itself back together through like the energy or whatever. So basically, he's broken as hell because not only is he like faster than the speed of light, it's almost like he teleports because
he's
he
pretty much
apart.
Teleporting.
So when Sho stops time, the reason why he can't see Shinra is because Shinra is shredded apart. He doesn't exist. He's a bunch of atoms floating through the sky, and then he comes back. That's why I think Shinra is going to be the strongest out of all of them.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Him and Sho are something special already right off the bat.
That other Adola Burst was kind of crazy, dude. Well, when I saw her, I was like, wait.
I think all the Adola Bursts within themselves, they're special. They're because like it's been shown to us already. They can do things that you're not supposed to be able to do, which is fire itself. There's no way fire should be able to stop time. I thought it was kind of cool the way they explained it. He's actually freezing, or he's taking, what is it? Taking
the heat
out of the world, right?
The heat that's expanding from the expansion of the universe.
Right.
So if anyone knows like science, like entropy, how the world is constantly going through entropy, which is like the building of chaos and heat and stuff like that, he absorbs basically entropy to keep the world from moving forward.
Yeah, no, see, that's pretty ridiculous. Like
that is
cool.
OP. Cool. It is really awesome. I think what I really appreciate about this is they have these really cool, almost, they take the concepts of real world science and apply it to the powers, which I love. I don't like, or I'm not
like it. I think I know what you
to powers when they're kind of just like, oh,
he's just strong.
Oh,
he shoots fire because I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you, and that's why I like animes like this where they go a little bit extra and they explain the science behind it. Tons of things from the beginning, just within the corruption. You see it all, yet when they happen on screen, they still come as a shock, and I find that very, very amazing for a studio to be able to do, because usually I'm very nitpicky on that. Like, oh, I caught that. It's not that surprising, but it was enough to they show you it, and then they kind of fill you so much into the lore and the story of what's really going on that you almost kind of forget the little things. So then when they happen, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into like each character, which character would you say is your favorite, like right off the bat?
Oh, I would say that it's almost a tie between two, but second place would go to Maki,
Okay, Maki's
and
dope.
first place would go to Vulcan.
Vulcan's a cool character. Okay,
Vulcan to
I'm gonna
me
give you
is
that.
awesome,
I'm gonna give
bro.
you that. Yeah,
Yeah,
Vulcan is a really cool character to have as
yeah.
your
I
favorite.
really like his story.
Yes. No, he's got
Mhm.
a solid story.
Yeah.
The whole not trusting the fire force, his grandfather built a Matarasu.
And then
Uh
the whole story with Lisa,
oh
so
dude, that
good.
was yeah, it really
So
was
good.
good.
So who would be your favorite character?
If I have to say thinking about it, right off the I mean, I don't even have to think about it. It's Arthur. It's Arthur. It's Arthur. I love Arthur.
Okay. Why?
What do you mean why? This man is strong as fuck. Like literally
He's pretty awesome. I
no
think
no no no
what
no he's stupid strong. But he's gotta be immersed in his RP, bro. If he doesn't see himself as that Night King or the Samurai Knight, he's not doing anything. Like honestly, I there's a character that I have that I feel I want to like, but I need more out of them, and that is Tamaki, just because I want her to be more than just a joke in the show. And
yeah.
there's a moment in the show where literally Tamaki, she's having a flashback of Shimura saying like, "Oh, if you need help while we're down there, just call
Yeah.
out for me
Mhm.
and I'll come to the rescue." And she thinks to herself like, "No, I don't want you to rescue me all the time." And I was thinking like, "Yes, oh
Yes.
yes, this is the
Yes.
moment." Oh,
And
dude.
then
And
fan service saves the
it
day.
was literally, yeah, it was build up for a fan service joke where Sister Iris has to come in and save her. I was like, come on, you could have,
Yeah.
that would have
That
been
I
the
think the thing
perfect
about Fire
moment.
Force, I think Fire Force is a strong enough anime on its own to not need to rely on fan service
It
the way
really
it kind of
is.
does. So the next character that I'm really excited to discuss is Captain Obi, bro. He's just
Dude.
a normal human who doesn't have any powers, who rips railroad tracks out of the ground.
No, this man works out. The best part of that was Giovanni, like, 'cause just he'll do some very superhuman thing, and everybody would be like,
Yeah.
"How'd you do that?" I work out every day.
Like he's freaking Saitama or whatever from freaking One Punch Man. There's a part during the near the end of the show Shinra fight where a giant pillar that you would see, remember,
Right.
he grabs it and he does like a squat or whatever. He rips the pillar and makes a pillar fall over like a 4-ton pillar.
Like it's nothing though. Just
Yeah, like dude, what? I want to work out every day.
You know what? That begs the question: who do you think would win in a fight, Captain Obi or Satama?
Oh, let's not go there.
Those who are on Team Obi, come and support me down in the comments. I want to see hashtag Team Obi or whatever. Screw Rory.
No. And if you think Saitama would mop the floor with Obi, which he would, you're
No, he
on
wouldn't.
Team Rory, and we're gonna win this battle because
You watch Fire. You go back and watch Fire Force again. You
go back and watch One Punch Man. There's no way you could be saying this right now. Yeah, I think what I really like about Captain Obi and why I think he's such a drawing character
Mhm.
is he is an awesome leader. He
Yeah.
has a very calm, lax personality, but knows to trust the strength of his allies. Like he really puts trust in right from the start. If he recruits you, he already kind of gives you all the trust that you need from him. The lieutenant.
Yes, the lieutenant was really cool.
I really like their backstory, and I really like the lieutenant's backstory. I thought the lieutenant's backstory was so intense, and I'm always a sucker for those characters where, oh, I use this weapon or I do this thing to honor
Because
a person.
yeah.
Yeah, I always love
that was
that.
very cool. Just seeing that change, especially since he's still very much the same hard-headed person he is, but
Yeah.
after they show that episode, you notice the moments where he's lighting up.
Yeah.
You could, after watching the episode where they show the lieutenant's backstory, you can go back and watch older episodes within season 1 and see moments where you're like, man, he's kind of a hard ass, and you're like, oh, you know what, he actually cared for them in that situation. That's out of worry or because he just shows his emotions differently.
No, yeah. How intense, how did you feel when his friend wanted him to shoot him?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, because you just I kind of asked myself, what would I kind of do in that situation? You know, if
It's intense, like literally having to shoot your closest friend
who you were just at
and then
dinner with,
not doing that, knowing very well of like baptizing his weapon and the religion, and he literally tells him, if I like become an infernal, I would want to die from a baptized weapon. And knowing that, and then the soldiers coming in and killing him with unbaptized weapons.
Just a character to really throw out there that I feel like we should kind of deserves his own little TED talk, if you will. It has to be Shinra Kusakabe. Because they do something so interesting that I can't say I've seen used as an anime trope in any other anime I've watched. Maybe it has been used, but they explained it so cool in here. Like what I mean by it, you'll understand when I say. The smile, the I smile. The fact that his literally his character trait is he smiles when he feels nervous or uncomfortable.
Now, I want to ask you this because I'm very interested in what you have to say. Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Okay, okay. Can I talk about this real quick?
Yeah.
I think it's almost like a PTSD reaction to seeing the smiling demon who killed his mom and his brother. He saw the demon who smiled at him, and it kind of forced his brain into almost a PTSD state to whenever he feels like that, whenever he feels nervous or scared or anything like that, he smiles like the demon he is connected to.
That's good. I've never thought about that.
I was sitting there watching it. I was like,
oh, that's such a good connection.
I'm actually getting chills.
Oh, I'm like mad I didn't catch on to that. That is such a good connection because I've thought like I've obviously thought into it. I just at first I'm like, okay, that's cool artistic choice, but what's the reasoning to it? And I've kind of thought, okay, maybe that's just something he programmed into his brain to know instead of crying because you know he wanted to build himself up to be strong. So I thought
a hero. So
so I thought, well, instead of almost kind of like the Lemillion All Might thing, you know, oh, never let people see you being weak. Just smile. And then they won't know what's really going on.
That's not a bad take on it, but I kind of just I don't know, the connection just kind of clicked. And
yours is definitely a way better connection. Like I like that one a lot.
I also want to talk about Shinra because the smiling gave him the nickname the Devil or whatever, and he has the Devil's footprints.
The Devil's footprints,
which how much of a badass do you have to be to get those nicknames?
Right? I mean, well, hold up. He does get the nicknames because he allegedly killed his brother and mother.
I mean,
so like, I
feel like some people would be like, man, he's a savage. Dude, he asked his mom for a cookie.
She told him no.
She's dead now. Did you kind of notice his fighting style?
Yeah, it's like a breakdancing.
Yes. I think he freaking learned how to breakdance because they talk about it. He's like, it's breakdancing. I think he actually learned how to breakdance to help him move the way he moves when he fights.
It's really cool because I haven't seen like, you know, it could just be maybe I've been watching the wrong animes, but I haven't seen breakdancing put into like an anime in a while as a fight style because the last one I think I saw was like Samurai Champloo is where they implemented it, and that's back when it was highly influenced by hip hop and like Westerner and like rap and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of like very cool, almost like I guess like a hint of nostalgia just from watching older stuff.
Yeah, I get that. I think his character development is very interesting because more of a growth within his own mental of dealing with these things that he's seen and strengthening him to become a hero. Almost like this season was really
just
showing
maturing
him to become a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of I feel like that's the growth they take with him. Did you kind of share that similarly?
No, exactly. Just looking back on Shinra, exactly.
Mhm.
Like mentally he matures, and
Yes.
they don't, even though, and I find that super interesting because they show a lot of moments with his inner thoughts, and you really get to see how he thinks. He doesn't think how he acts, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
So he, throughout the, like at the beginning of the show, he kind of thought how he acted, so he was super goofy and immature. But then as the show goes on, his thoughts change. He's piecing things together. He wants to really figure out what the fuck is going on.
I really like you saying that because it really brought that to my attention. I didn't even think about that, how in the beginning he was driven, but he had a very almost goofy personality that really showed. And near the end of it, I would say it kind of just became all serious. No
He's
jokes.
serious.
I'm ready for this kind of
Like,
a thing.
I'm going to save my brother.
So I like the
I
growth
want
in
to,
that. Yeah.
no, and it is definitely, it's definitely like really noticeable, but they still have a lot of immature. But that's why I said, like, mentally he's matured, and they show it mentally, but they don't always show it on screen a lot. So he still would have goofy moments, but you know, that's just because of the show and what it is. They gotta have the comedic breaks in there every now and then between him and Arthur.
Exactly.
But I think that was probably one of my favorite things about Shinra, was just seeing the thought process change throughout him. Because, you know, at first it's, I'm going to save or find my, you know, I'm going to make my brother and sister, or brother and mother proud.
Yeah.
Then it was, I'm going to find my brother. Now it's, I'm going to find my brother and rescue my mother. You know, it's always changing. And it was very interesting to see that.
It's always changing, but changing in terms of development rather than changing in terms of going to a completely different objective.
Exactly.
Almost going through these stages of becoming the savior at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Let's get into the art.
Yeah, man. The art.
So this show has some of the most beautiful fire. Let me just say,
I can agree with that.
It has some of the most beautiful fire in an anime, I believe. Which is good, because, you know, it's the whole focus of the show.
Yeah, I think what I really like about how they use fire as well is they really utilize their art and the appearance of fire to show fire's destruction in the world, but also its high beauty in the world. Like when I think of Princess Hibana.
Oh yes,
the company 5 captain. Her fire, she creates flowers out of it, and they look so beautiful. And then you think of someone like, I don't know, like captain of the first Burns or whatever, and he turns into freaking a nuke.
Oh my god, that dude is insane.
The destruction of it, to see the beauty and destruction within
another person who kind of brings up not necessarily the beauty or the bad, but she kind of brings up a middle side, is Maki herself. Brings up, with Sputter and Flare, she can create these two entities almost, and they're literally, they're not really dangerous, but they're also not really safe.
They're fire.
It's fire, but it shows kind of like a middle ground of, you can kind of create this life almost with it. And which does actually get utilized later in the show too, which I thought really cool. Well, she can give life to fire. She can put that into these giant hammers, and now she has,
dude, those things I love Maki's witch.
The whole witch vibe.
So sick. And the fact that her things, she'll like fight with them and they look like punching glove or like freaking boxing gloves. Did you notice that? I love that. No, I thought they were so cool.
Maki's hands down probably the coolest female in the show.
And I think that really shows the art in terms of the character designs in this show are so awesome. I love the character designs in the show. Like each character seems to have their own personality. And I am always entertained when I look at characters.
That being said, though, they also did piss me off a lot with a lot of the shots here. it's because and I think I get why, because the fight scenes were really beautiful in the show.
Yeah.
I can tell
The amount of money that must have gone into Show versus Shinra.
Oh, just yeah,
Because
exactly.
right when
That
it
fight scene itself.
right when you started, you can notice the difference in the quality of the art.
Yeah, it cuts it. We call him Little Dicky because he looks like Little Dicky, but it's the doctor. They cut to him and you could tell just right away he's just animated so much. It's almost like when you could tell there's about to be a badass fight scene in Naruto because the animation slightly changes. They do that. They definitely do that on Fire Force.
But I felt like it was such a noticeable difference of where I was like, holy cow.
Shit. Yeah. No, because it really is, because especially the show Shinra fight in itself, that is it blew my mind the first time watching it. It's just it's literally just this amazing beautifully drawn and choreographed fight where just he comes out and they're moving so fast that you're only seeing like the spark of light every now and then.
I think it's such a challenge, I feel, to have speed represented within a fight, and I love the way they do it, especially because they really understand and utilize their characters. So when you see them move really fast, they'll show the sparks like he's saying, but then they'll also show a part where you can see the footprints that Shinra leaves on the ground, like lighting on fire. Zoom through the room. Almost. They just really utilize their characters very well. Especially, and I agree. The choreography
for that fight was just they went all out. They went all out on that fight. They have a lot of great fighting moments within the show, but definitely Shinra and Show.
If you haven't watched Fire Force, I would say just watch it just for that fight. If anything,
literally, if anything, like say you don't care because there's too much fan service, which I can understand. Like
we respect it.
I literally have friends that have told me like they don't watch Fire Force because it's just too much fan service for them. I get it. But at least watch the Shinra Show fight. Like look it up on YouTube.
There's no fan service in it.
Go on Hulu. It is such a cool fight.
Probably, it is an awesome fight.
For the next generation anime, it's definitely up there and probably one of the cooler fights.
It's so funny because Zay's topic was actually going to talk about the bad moments in the art, but then we kind of just went on a Shinra Show.
I know.
Amazing art.
Well, it's because like. Here's all I'm going to say about the bad moments. They're very noticeable. They're actually, it's almost, not even almost, it is worse than Blue Exorcist.
Okay. It's so funny because while I was watching Fire Force, I was sitting there going, man, he kind of shat on Blue Exorcist for the whole, you're utilizing no faces in these close-up shots for multiple minutes in a scene. Mm-hmm. Fire Force does that a lot.
It does, and it got on my nerves a lot too, because there's literally they will have 3 scenes back to back of horrible cuts, standstill shots of poorly animated characters, and it's a fucking monologue. And there's the mouths aren't moving at all.
One that always kind of seeps into my mind whenever I think about it is when Obi kind of comes into his office and everyone's there and he's about to talk about the plan with the first or something, and it's a close up of him at the door, and it's like this much of a close up, like how I look in my own little screen. It's like it's that close,
right?
And he has no face, for 3/4 of his monologue.
And it's not like this is like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. No, we're talking like 2 to 5 minutes. I'm not even joking. Like
they can be very long.
It is pretty bad. and I really wanted to make sure I mentioned it because of how bad I shit on Blue Exorcist. But Blue Exorcist season, art wise, story wise, yes, still pretty bad. But art wise is probably better than not probably better than.
I wouldn't say in terms of the style or anything. He just means in terms of like utilizing
filler
money
art.
Saving art moments.
Like, for example, I feel a show that kind of does the money saving transitions and art moments well. We kind of talked about this in the episode, was Attack on Titan. With it was they did the whole comic book shader standstill image, even though
Yeah.
like, you know,
That's more
something like that.
entertaining.
Oh, I'm fine if you're just gonna say this is a picture, but it was a detailed picture at least. You know,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't a
And even if and another reason why it kind of upsets me when I see moments like that is, as a director, you can probably design a better way of doing that. Instead of the close-up shot of his face, why didn't you have a shot of his back talking to them or something? Or
exactly
utilizing the hand to cover it, so all you have to animate is maybe the eyes or
moving
something.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, why do you have to have these shots where it's just it's almost like you didn't try.
Yeah.
You didn't even
No, no,
try
no.
to make them appear
They did it though because
implemented.
they have moments where it looks like they're Minecraft characters on the screen. Like, I don't know if you caught on to that. There's
I
literally
think
a
I've seen
shot
a couple.
where I think it was one of the warehouses were on fire and they just did a quick rough draft sketch and they were like, yeah, that's good enough. Animate that.
Yeah.
Just send that through this
Yeah.
concept art right here. Like, oh, come on. That probably is my biggest pet peeve in anime, especially when I know they're doing it because they need to save money for a cool
Yeah.
fight scene. It I'm glad that Fire Force's fight scenes are rewarding enough. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the times, there are animes out there that use this tactic. Oh, well, I can just give them a poorly drawn images here and there.
Yeah.
And
And the cost isn't worth the reward.
and it's not, because
Yeah.
the fight scene will come and it'll either be like a too short of a fight scene, or they didn't even do that many like crazy visual things that you're
Yeah.
like, really, you saved all your money for this?
Yeah. And that
I've seen-
jeopardizes the anime for people.
Yeah.
Because every time you have a moment like that, it takes you out of it. Even
Yes.
no matter how used to it you are, when you see it, you notice it. Even if it's the smallest little thought in the back of your head, it is prevalent in your mind.
Especially in Fire Force, because literally they'll do it right after a good fight scene.
Yeah.
That's
Or just
the
a
that's the part that
nice emotional scene or something.
Yeah,
And then the
and
very
then
next thing is
Minecraft,
okay.
South
So
Park characters on the screen.
I'm invested. I'm invested emotionally into this, and then you completely take me out of it.
Yeah.
You built up this emotional moment, and that emotional moment might have been amazing, and I'm totally invested, and then immediately take me out. Why? Why would you do that?
Just to save a couple dollars for
It would have been smarter. It would have been smarter to use that early on, so I was out of it kind of in the beginning.
Mhm.
And then once I got to that emotional moment, I stayed invested in the
I
rest of
agree.
the episode.
I agree. See, I'm kind of all for that. Like, I don't mind an anime using worse transitions and cuts in the beginning if they're gonna improve in the end. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you like if anything, I would feel like that's kind of the ideal way. Maybe
Yeah,
not.
I want it to be a climb.
Yeah.
I don't want my experience to be a fall.
Exactly. Don't go so hard in the beginning, because which they do in Fire Force. Everything looks so cool in the beginning, and then as the episodes go on, it's like, yeah, we got to start saving our money for the fight scenes.
Yeah. So that definitely is a little disappointing. But to move on from the absolute shitting we were just doing on the art,
I feel like it's some good constructive criticism that they need.
Constructive.
I feel like that's some good constructive criticism that they need. We're gonna cut that. Don't worry.
I want y'all to take note of that. That is Zay not saying it, but he is desperately pleading to me to cut that when he's all like, "Don't worry, we'll cut that."
Don't worry. I know how to edit now, guys. So when he sends me the rough draft and I see it, I'm just gonna take it out.
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna leave it in there too.
You're sitting there editing the video. Man, I look stupid. This is good. This
is good content.
Yeah. But something to bring us back into the arc, because it does have a lot of redeeming moments, like we said, and I love how they handled this. Is we were talking about the Vulcan and Lisa story, and we were talking about Giovanni's control over Lisa. When we are in the Nether and we get that moment of control between Lisa and Giovanni, and we really get to see the way the relationship works. There are two art styles that they utilize that I am obsessed with. The first being this unsettling image that looks almost like an old rustic creepy photo of Giovanni
Giovanni.
almost
Yeah.
wrapped around Lisa.
Yes, dude. They obviously they're intending to make you feel uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
they hit that so well.
Yeah, I mean,
They
something like that. I feel like that art style is really utilized, at least, and when I notice it utilized in media, to bring on that sense of uncomfortable. Uh,
trying to figure out like your moral ground on it, like how
yeah,
do I feel about this image?
yeah, and it's normally shown as a negative. This should make you feel uncomfortable. This doesn't look right, you know.
Yes.
And the next one they use is this intense drawing with these sharp vertical lines. And it's when Giovanni's almost looking down on
Oh
Lisa and they
yes.
have these sharp lines. So sharp vertical lines are used to uh amplify the intensity in certain shots like that, and they utilize it in a really cool way by almost making every single line in that shot very sharp and driven, you
Yeah.
know, and it just brings on the intensity of it. But what I was a little disappointed in is that was the only time they really utilized that.
Yeah.
And I understand why, because that was the only time they had a moment like that. But I really wish they would have had more moments that utilized a more creative approach to amplify what is going on in the scene.
Yeah. One thing I do remember a lot about the music within this show, so I just got big Marvel vibes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it was just straight up just bwah, bwah, no, 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 bwah, bwah.
Really? I don't think I noticed it like that.
That was like I think it was in like the first episode. It was just straight up some like Marvel opening cinematic stuff. Da, 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 bwah, bwah.
What?
Bwah.
That's interesting. I never even noticed that. That's hilarious. They get like copyright. You know how Shinra's always all like, "I'm save the day, man." He just walks in like, "I'm Iron Man." Wait, copyright.
Disney's just waiting for them to slip up. They're like, "Oh, they already got our
They're
music.
already taking our music. Yeah.
The second he calls himself the Human Torch,
It's over. It's over.
It's
We're
over.
getting him. Nah, but dude, the music in this, let me
Oh,
just
yeah.
say, the intro songs.
I didn't really like the first one, if I'm being honest.
What?
I'm dead serious. I didn't really like the first one.
I do like the second one, but you cannot tell me you did not like the first one.
I feel like in the first intro song, it takes too long to kind of get to that pump you up feel, and literally it doesn't fit with the AMV that they show. Like
Really?
really go back and watch
I think I would lightweight have to disagree with that.
Oh,
When you have that intro and then you have the part where the sister like looks up, I'm obsessed with that.
There's literally
part of the build-up.
There's some parts where they're not, like, you can tell that they were supposed to be lined up here, like they intended it to line up with that, and it's just a little bit off. And if you really focus, it fucks up the whole thing.
I do agree that the second one is more of a banger, but when you say that, when I think of the ending to that song, and it's him just freaking screaming, you know, doing the screamo part.
That shit hypes me up.
But Shinra is just walking, and they're all smiling as a group. And it's just like, and it's just Shinra like,
yeah, it is kind of funny, but I don't know. I felt like that one just from the beginning hypes you up a lot more than.
I definitely agree. I agree.
Just that. Mayday, code 5, coming in. Like, that's so dope.
This isn't necessarily music, it's more sound, but we're going to talk about sound in music because we don't talk about sound anywhere else.
Yeah.
The sound effects they use in this show.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with. Like, whenever Shinra is going crazy with like the spinning or whatever, I love that shit. The way it sounds is so
I can't even imitate it with the mouth, but
I like the parts where it's almost like when he's like spinning around, it's like,
yes,
those parts are sick.
I like it because there's moments where it literally almost feels like a rocket blasting off, and I think that was
Mhm.
their intention, was
Yeah.
because of the way that he utilizes his feet. It's supposed to be like a jetpack or almost a rocket,
Yeah.
and it's so cool. The sound design was really amazing in this show.
No, it was.
Something I really want to talk about is just the way they opened up the show. To me,
Mhm.
that is a really amazing way to open up your show without explaining the lore to anything,
Yeah.
and then have the audience already kind of understand what's going on.
Mm.
I didn't like I didn't necessarily need them to do that whole anime backstory speech to understand, oh, people catch fire in here. Special fire people put out fire.
They
Like
handled it well. They did it more in terms of a actual
just watch.
situation in the
Yeah.
show
Yes.
instead of having to do that thing where they just sit there and explain all the lore of it.
Which I loved, because I feel like this isn't done enough in anime. And if
Mhm.
anything, this kind of showed that you don't need to do that explaining when you have almost a simple concept.
Our concept is more intense, but for you to get that beginning understanding of it, it's
Yes.
almost like they use their season to build up your understanding of their concept, if you
Yes.
will, instead of just going, oh, here's all the information about the concept, okay, now let's just watch the show. It's
Yeah.
almost like they really utilize the you learning about what's
Through
going on
through
throughout the
visuals.
season. And
Yes.
yeah,
Which I really like.
when Arthur finally gets to go to fight with the Eighth for
Yes.
that Infernal, and they walk in on the Infernal, and he's just sitting there, and he's basically waiting to be put to rest. I thought that was such a powerful moment to show the harsh reality of the job,
Mhm.
and that it's not a flashy display, and such a humbling moment for the characters, because you had these characters who, oh, why should we put our weapons away? I'm proud of being able to fight to save
Exactly.
people. And then Captain Obi being like, you don't understand. And
Yeah.
then you have that moment, and now it's like, now you understand that we're not just saving people, we're
We're
also killing
killing.
them.
Yeah.
These are
It,
people.
and actually I like the way he defines it, because he almost defines it in a way to where he even takes out the whole saving part, and he just goes, we tell ourselves we're saving people, but the harsh reality is we're ending their lives.
Such a powerful moment being an audience
Yeah.
and seeing that, how uncomfortable and almost heart-wrenching it is to see a man in flames
Hmm.
sitting at the table with his wife outside begging him to be put to rest, and him
It
just
wasn't even his wife,
accepting,
like it was his daughter.
or his daughter,
Yeah.
yeah, just accepting what's happening to him.
And that kind of brings up a question that I wanted to ask
Yeah.
was, can you just imagine being a civilian in this world?
No, I wouldn't want to.
I honestly would not want to be a civilian in this world.
No.
Like there's those anime worlds that we talk about, like where you wouldn't want to be the main character, but damn, being a civilian would be cool. This is not one of them. This is like straight up terrifying.
Yeah.
This you're unless you're a fire soldier, you're living your whole life in fear of turning infernal.
But that's what I like, right? Because I feel the show really tries to create these fun moments and really tries to come off as a fun show, but has these intense moments that really brings everything into perspective of, this is a lot more than you might think it is. Okay, something I do want to discuss though for this moment that doesn't really make sense to me is when Shinra is fighting Hibana and she lowers his blood pressure by making his blood vessels dilate, right? Which is pretty awesome.
Pretty
But
awesome.
she tells him like, "Oh, it's making him lightheaded," and he says, "Oh, so the
So it's all
palpitations, shortness of breath, and dizziness are all in my head." Like, no, motherfucker, that shit's real. Like, what?
Well, no, even she was just trying to get it through his head. Like, no, it's not all in your head.
Your palpitations, shortness of breath, and dizziness are happening to you.
I'm making you dizzy. Like, what did you not understand?
He's like, oh, this is all in my head. I'm like, no, dude, she's lowering your blood pressure. Like, you're going to die if you keep going. So I actually kind of want to bring it back to art in a way because I forgot about this moment. But during the Hibana Iris storyline, which was around episode 6, they do this awesome thing where Hibana, when she's leaving Iris, right after she like becomes a devil because she's fascinated by the flames, and they use these images that almost look like water Pascal paintings that move around abruptly on the screen. And I thought it was really amazing because to me, it almost shows the intensity and uncomfortable nature of the scene, but also the state of mind when remembering something. Because I feel like when I remember something, I see images that I kind of place together rather than a much smoother film of what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought that was a great way to almost portray the mind when it remembers something.
I just kind of want to point out something. It really bugs me too, because not only is Rekka so obviously just this big creep and the bad guy, but they have the whole scene with him and Tamaki.
Yeah.
Did that make you uncomfortable? Because honestly,
well, of course. I mean, he's sitting there beating Tamaki, who's just a little confused sweetheart, you know. The other thing that really bothered me was when he forcibly turned that kid and that woman into infernals or whatever.
Oh god. Okay, so obviously this is like my second time watching Fire Force full through, right?
Yeah.
I forgot that. Like, I remembered I was gonna feel uncomfortable during this because he beat Tamaki, but I totally forgot that the kids were involved. And usually, like, when they do, like, even in like something like anime, like when they show like a kid getting hurt, it's hard to watch.
Yeah, it is.
It's so hard to watch.
I especially like it because again, it's showing kind of the structure of Fire Force, of how it's very much has this fun and games kind of awesome
world in a
world.
way. Yeah, like
and story.
superpowers.
But
Like,
man, does it have those intense moments. And I really like that in the story.
yeah,
I love it when a story can kind of shock me into that.
and make me feel a bit uncomfortable, because
Yeah.
it's almost boring watching things that there's like you get no thrill from it, right? It's like why people watch scary movies. You watch it to get scared because actions get boring when you do nothing but watch an action movie where the hero saves the day all the time.
Yeah, I get
Eventually
that.
that gets boring and you need a change. So it is nice to see this done. And this is done a lot in anime, but usually I feel like they're too over the top and they come out more cringy.
Because I feel like they do it, but they don't overdo it.
They don't overdo it. They have their actors stay in the zone, like honestly, the biggest thing that adds a lot to the scene too is Rekka doesn't change. His character stays the same throughout the whole thing. What I mean by that is literally he's always acting like he's the good guy throughout the whole scene. That's what makes it so hard. He goes, "Oh, Tamaki, I didn't think you were gonna wake up. I should have squeezed a bit harder. It's okay, Tamaki. I'm just gonna have to kill you with the kids." And he has a smile on his face the whole time. His tone is literally just this upbeat tone. It doesn't miss a beat whatsoever.
He's messed up.
It's followed by a great moment for our main character too. Like Shinra has an amazing hero moment come out of this. I honestly love the moment where Shinra comes in and he saves Tamaki and he looks at her and he goes, "Are you all right?" And she's just like shaking her head yes and no, because she's like so conflicted with her. She still hasn't even processed, like she's still processing what's going on. And if you pay attention, she goes no at first, and then she says yes, and then and then that's when she just breaks down. And it really is like this nice little moment between the two characters. So a question I wanted to ask is, they do this thing with Shinra where they have him save Tamaki in this moment, right?
Yeah.
And and then through that fight scene, they have this very cute interaction between the two characters, right? And then we see the two characters have this type of connection throughout the show after that. Yet they also do that with Sister Iris and Shinra. So who do you think they're trying to target that towards? If if that makes sense.
Like in terms of who is going to be the love interest for Shinra?
Yeah, because exactly, because I get confused by it. I can't tell if they're trying to build it up where Sister Iris is going to be the love
I
interest.
definitely
or
don't think it's going to be Sister Iris,
You
because
think Tamaki more?
I think Tamaki more, and there is a just realistic reason to that, and more of like
Tamaki
an
likes.
emotional reason.
Yeah.
Well, the realistic reason being that Sister Iris is a sister, so she can't.
Oh, duh.
Yeah. So she literally can't. It's not.
Duh.
Or she's not supposed to, at least for like
Yeah.
what she is in terms of religion. And then the other thing is, I think Sister Iris almost looks at Shinra like a brother, if you will. Yeah, so that's why, even though they hint this thing with like, oh, something deeper is going on here with Sister Iris, when it finally comes to that time, I think the relationship isn't going to be as much, oh, I'm going to save you and I'm in love with you, like a romantic one or just a Iris, like I need to save her. It's not romantic at all.
Yeah.
It's just I care about her that deeply, almost, and I'm actually very excited if they go that route. So that's why I'm not necessarily wanting him to be with Tamaki.
It
don't
just
really
makes more
want him to
sense.
be with Iris, because I really like the relationship they established between the two.
Well,
I think
guess
it's actually one of the most solid relationships in the show, which is
Okay.
very interesting to have your fan service girl be the one to end up with the hero, if that's what they end up doing. I think that would be a very interesting approach.
I think the only thing I would really want, like this, and this is just the only thing I really want from Tamaki. I like Tamaki's character, but I want her to have a moment where she's not used as a joke. I want her to have a moment where I took down the bad guy, and she can say that, and she could be like, take that, Kusakabe. I want that, take that, like, in your face Kusakabe
almost like
moment.
a rivalry between them.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
cool.
which I'm fine with that, but I just want more than watch me go for this kick. Oh,
yeah. Exactly. Something I find very interesting also in this show is the way their character development is employed, because they have these background stories for each character, which is awesome. Like every character has some profound background story that's like a main character, and I like the stories, but it's just interesting because it kind of felt like a repetitive system of one in every 3 episodes in this anime is going to be a
introduce
backstory.
a character with a backstory.
Introduce the character. The next episode is going to be their backstory, and then
conflict.
Yeah, and now you know enough. Here's the conflict, and do it. That's kind of the system they use over and over again. And I thought that's a little plain. The system could have been done better. Not to say that it ruins it. It doesn't. The stories are still awesome and fun to watch. It's just, that's something I noticed.
You get almost in a binge setting. You notice it, and it gets, it gets old. It gets old quick.
Yeah, it does.
It kind of takes you out, but then you see Waka Flocka just throw brooms at his city, and you're because they call him Waka, and I thought of the rapper Waka Flocka for some reason. So in my notes, I literally called him Waka Flocka each time.
Like no reason at all, other than Waka.
Yeah, they call him Waka, so I was like, fuck it, he's Waka Flocka now. Just don't even look at this man. Don't smile at this man. He blows up his town for fun.
Yeah, Waka Flocka. I did think that was super funny. They're just like, oh, the 8th shows up, and they're like, oh, he's gonna go stop that infernal, and he just, okay, boom, in front of him. They're just like, what the fuck is going on?
He's like, you guys do it, but I do want to talk about this. So one thing I really love about the introduction to Waka was you get the introduction to the 7th. They don't use the religion that's established in this world, which I thought was super interesting. And they do things very differently. It's Waka instead. He's connected with everybody within the town, and just when somebody in his town gets turned infernal, they celebrate the death instead of mourning it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say that they don't follow the religion, if you will. I think they just have different views on it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's more, instead of, oh, we don't do the prayer, instead we don't offer the prayer to soul for this person, the
Right.
infernal. We offer the destruction of, we offer destruction and chaos to him in order to bring the soul to rest, if you
No,
will.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
which I thought was really interesting. I thought that
yeah,
was super cool.
culture that's
Mm.
established within this world.
Yeah,
Because humanity was reset in a sense, and then eventually there's going to be people who believe in different things, and that's kind of
definitely.
like what we're shown here is we have this whole town that believes in doing a simple act like killing their infernals a different way.
Yeah.
It's, well, that person was a person once upon a time. They wouldn't want us to mourn them. They would want us to put on a show for him.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it was just really cool
Mhm.
to show that whole dynamic.
So a moment that I really want to discuss as well, that's a little heartbreaking, is when Shinra finally sees Sho for the first time, right?
Right.
It hurts because it's one of those meetups where the person is like really nice and happy to see them because they don't want to like face the reality of what that person is now.
Yeah.
And it just hurts when you see Shinra with all he's been living with his life is, I want to be a hero to, help or to honor my family who died, to, oh, I'm going to go find Sho and save Sho because he's alive. Finally seeing his brother, and he's been mentally fucked this whole time about it. Finally seeing his brother and being
And it
so excited, and his brother being that evil little,
doesn't even know who he is. That's the
yeah,
worst part. Doesn't even know who he is.
yeah. And
Like,
he's all like, oh, this is the person that they told me about who is apparently
shares
my brother, or
Yeah, you
something like
share the
that.
same blood with, and that's the thing too. Is like Sho acts so snotty too. He's like, "Oh, you dare share my
I
royal
mean,
blood with me?"
at the time, Sho was mopping the floor with Shinra.
True.
I do have to say though, this is a little nod for Arthur, because I will give Arthur this: when he's running at Sho to save Shinra during that fight, Sho kind of looks at Arthur, and Arthur is so good at combat that he instinctively realizes that Sho's about to attack. And even though he gets hit by it, he actually reacts enough to where Sho is impressed. He's like, whoa, he actually
See,
reacted to my attack.
because Arthur is very much that character where he's like, oh, his personality is he's stupid, but because he's stupid, he's a good fighter because he can't. It's
Yeah.
almost like he's got that
He's got
fighter's
instincts.
instinct.
Yeah.
Just his brain's shut off all the time that his body will naturally defend itself. Someone who I really want to talk about is Joker.
Oh, he is a cool character.
Up until this moment, Joker has been a very confusing character. And what I mean by that is, he started a couple fires here and there just to get Shinra's attention, told them, like, Sho's still alive. Oh, I don't believe me? Check it out.
Yeah, he kind of has this demeanor of, you don't know if I'm evil or if I'm good. And all the way up until the end, you might think, now that I'm against the evangelist, but you still don't know if I'm
still
good.
don't know if I'm good.
Yeah.
But I like that because it's the more they show him, the more intrigued I get into his character, because you start thinking like him. You're like, so he's not on the fire. Like, he understands that there's corruption in the fire force, and he knows that the evangelists are extreme. He's almost like that middle ground. He's like, nah, everybody's lying to you, but I know the truth. They don't really show off his strength until he fights Sho, and then you start asking questions,
you're like, wait a minute, this guy is freaking awesome.
Yeah, because, and then even Lick says something on it. He says, wow, so Shinra's still not as strong as you? And he's like, yeah, and if he's not as strong as me, he definitely won't be able to take on Sho.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and they're trying to make Shinra stronger so he can defeat Sho. So it really makes you go, okay, what's going
on? Exactly. Yeah. And it's almost like little Dicky and Joker kind of have to play this. They know the role that they have to play to almost be the hidden heroes within this. At least that's what I'm getting right now. It could turn out that, surprise, they're actually the true villains of the story. And
like there's some deeper entity that's trying to come up.
And I won't be mad if that's the case. Like
Yeah.
I won't honestly, if it turns out that Joker and Little Dicky are truly like good guys throughout the end of this, I'm not gonna be mad. If
Yeah.
they betray them and Shinra played into their hands the whole time and did whatever for them, I'm not gonna be mad. Like I think
They're doing a really good job building these characters.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
because usually when I feel like usually when you try seeing this in a show, it's you can obviously tell what side they're going to end up on.
Yeah.
But with these two characters, I generally just can't tell.
So our last moment that I'm excited to discuss is I thought it was such a powerful and heartbreaking moment when the mother turns into the Infernal and she's like crying as an Infernal, walking through the flames, yelling out for show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it was terrible. It was so sad. And then when she sees the evangelist or whatever, they're talking about how you once you see it,
If you're not worthy, you literally go blind.
yeah, and she grabs her horns and rips them down,
Like she,
basically crush her eyes, and then she became the Horned Inferno or whatever. That was such an intense moment.
It's because this was just one of those moments. Like I said, we knew this since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Even if show didn't know, we knew this moment since the beginning, and it just, even though knowing that seeing everything happened came as a shock and a surprise, and it hurts. It hurts a lot, especially when you get that moment and it's when Captain Burns goes back into the house and he sees her holding Show in her arms, just sitting in the fire. Like that kind of hurt me, because you're thinking about the situation. That's literally a mother she's not even in control of her. It's like she's mentally there, but she has no control in her body. She's just a guest in her body now. And
I love the story element they add to that of Show was going to be the Adola burst, and they were going to give him the Adola link, basically, and almost creating Show to be an Adola burst and creating the mom to be an infernal, a demon infernal or whatever, to be the protector of Show, if you will. So he's linked to the mom, but because of Shinra's strong connection to Show, he shared the link with Show. And so he uses his link with Show to link with the mom, who is the demon. Such a great element to the show, I felt.
Yeah,
I just love that. That has to be, I think, my favorite part of the show by far.
No, I don't know if I'd agree with you on like my favorite part of the show, but I'd say that is a moment. Personally, I'm a sucker for just the show Shinra fight. Like it is
a good fight.
Like that captures probably like my favorite moment. Either that or when Shinra saves Tamaki.
I like that, but I would have to say that this is definitely my favorite moment. I just love how they crafted the story and the art in the situation and everything. Just, it was so well crafted, I felt. My final thoughts on the show is that the show is very strong with very driven and profound characters that really get explained throughout the season. And I think it is a good enough show to not need to rely on fan service as much as it does, but still strives with these amazing action sequences and amazing character development that really bring the show to a higher standard than I believe a lot of people would presumably think it would be. And I would probably recommend this show to anyone, to be honest. I think it's a great show.
Yeah, I would too, especially like first timers. This is like a good lengthy one, 24 episodes. It's fun from start to end. You get used to those weird fan service moments right off the bat. But no, all jokes aside, the story is super engaging. Like we said, it deals with mystery and action and just this eeriness really well. You'll be moments that keep you on the edge of your seat, like what's gonna happen, and it's just a overall fun interactive watch, if you ask me.
So thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the Panoramic Perspective Podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other audio streaming platform, consider checking out the YouTube channel. We post the same podcast, but with an associated video that shows images and jokes. Thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed the trip.